Ralghia the Witch, Chapter 5, Part 1, The Gift That Is Also a Curse. "Tell me, O mighty witch," the first soldier said as he drank his ale, "you must know the secret of immortality." "Immortality? Who do you think you're dealing with, that I should share such a thing with the likes of you three?" Ralghia asked. "Please don't be like that," the second soldier said. "We have traveled far to seek out the witch who still has her youth and her beauty, even though a great many years have passed. And we are willing to pay well for it," the third soldier added. "Money I have enough of. I do not need any more," Ralghia spat. "Besides, have you not considered that the reason life is so precious is because it is so limited? Surely you would not value it so much if you had more life than you need." "But we have not begun to live yet," the first soldier said. "Each of us has scrambled all our lives just to get this far. We have been to the wars and seen death all around us. Even when the enemy wasn't close, we faced freezing temperatures, starvation, and disease. Only now have we escaped that horrible life, and only now do we have money in our pockets," the second soldier said. "Why should we die now when we have been through so much without any reward?" Ralghia the witch nodded. "Suppose I do share my secret with you. What would you do with it?" she asked. "I would get a fine ship and travel the world," the first soldier said. "I would be the captain, and I would stop in all the ports and sample the best of everything the world has to offer. And I would travel with him as first mate," the second soldier added. "And you?" Ralghia asked the third soldier. "I have no love of the ocean, but just as a ship can sail the seas and visit ports all around the world, so too can a port receive ships from all over. So I will settle on the outskirts of a city, close enough that I can visit the port every day, but at the same time at the foothills of a mountain with proper soil. I will become a vintner, and I, too, will sample the best of everything the world has to offer." Ralghia fixed her witch's eye on the three men. "I see you have not told me the full story," she said. "You say you plan to sample the best of everything the world has to offer. However, it would also seem that you plan to sample the women. As many of them as you please. Is that correct?" The men nodded, for they knew it would be useless to lie to a witch. Ralghia wrinkled her nose in disgust. "Your motives are entirely selfish, based as they are on lust and greed. I will not sell the secret of immortality at any price. Besides, the last time I extended a man's life, things didn't work out well for him. But even though you cannot have immortality, there is something else I will give you for free." "And that is?" the men asked. "I bestow on you the gift that is also a curse," she said. Then, turning to the first soldier, she added, "You, a man who wishes to captain a fine ship, you are destined to die at the hands of an old man whom you have enraged to the point that he feels he has nothing else to live for. And he will call you by your real name. However, you will die only after this has come to pass. As long as you are careful not to anger an elderly man to the point he feels he has nothing else to live for, and as long as you do not give out your real name, you need not fear death, and you will have your life and youth for as long as you desire." As soon as Ralghia the witch said these words, the soldier knew them to be the truth, for that is the way word magic works. But this did not discourage him. "Why, that is no curse at all," he said. "All that I have to do is make sure that I do not enrage an old man, and make sure not to give out my real name." "And I will not give out your real name either," his friend added. "Surely I have nothing to fear," the soldier said. Ralghia the witch nodded. She turned to the second soldier. "You, a man who wishes to board that ship as his first mate, you are destined to die at the hands of a good friend, once you betray him and destroy his honor. However, you will die only after this has come to pass. As long as you are careful not to betray a good friend and destroy his honor, you need not fear death, and you will have your life and youth for as long as you desire." As soon as Ralghia the witch said these words, the soldier knew them to be the truth, for that is the way word magic works. But this did not discourage him. "Why, that is no curse at all," he said. "Once we go out to sea, I will have only one friend in the world. All I have to do is make sure that I never betray him. Besides, I am fairly certain he has no honor for me to betray." "That's right," his friend added. "I have no honor." "Surely I have nothing to fear," the soldier said. Ralghia nodded. She turned to the third soldier. "You, a man who wishes to be a vintner and live near a fine port city, you are destined to die rescuing the woman you love. However, you will die only after this has come to pass. As long as you are careful not to put yourself in a situation where you must rescue the woman you love, you need not fear death, and you will have your life and youth as long as you desire." As soon as Ralghia the witch said these words, the soldier knew them to be the truth, for that is the way word magic works. But this did not discourage him. "Why, that is no curse at all," he said. "You already know that I plan to sample all the women who come my way. Out of all these women, I do not plan to love any of them. Surely I have nothing to fear," the soldier said. "So you say. At any rate, it would seem our business is concluded," Ralghia said. And with that, she vanished, leaving the three soldiers to drink their ale and congratulate themselves on their good fortune. The two soldiers who wished to go to sea, they got a fine ship and set sail. The captain was wise enough not to give out his real name, and his first mate was careful not to betray his friend by revealing it. They knew that as long as they kept to these conditions, they would never die. And because they had no need to fear death, they could undertake dangerous missions and go where no one else would dare. These missions made them a lot of money, and they became very rich. The captain began calling himself a privateer, even though he was little more than a pirate. His crew was steadfastly loyal, because he brought them riches and glory. As the years went on, however, the captain took extra precautions. So much time had passed since he first went out to sea that the young men he robbed and stole from by now must be old, and he wondered if any of these old men would be enraged to the point where they felt that they had nothing else to lose. So he commanded that no old men ever be allowed on board, and when the ship was in port, he would not go ashore lest he meet an old man. Instead, he stayed in his cabin the entire time. The men thought this odd, but they did not question it. He was the bravest of men when out at sea, and everyone gained so much wealth under his command. Nor did the captain lack for anything. Whenever the ship was in port, the men brought back the best of everything the world had to offer, and the captain got to sample it all: the food, the wine, and especially the women. The first mate never held anything back from his captain, for he would never betray his friend. Thus the two of them passed the years. As for the soldier, the third soldier, he became a vintner, but he did not sit idle. All he had to do was not fall in love with any woman, and he had no need to fear death. Whenever he wanted adventure, he could take on dangerous missions and go where no one else would dare. Every time he returned home, he still had his life and his youth, and a sack of gold. His travels and his winery made him very rich. With that money, he was able to sample the best of everything the world had to offer: the food, the wine, and especially the women. The women knew he did not love them, but they did not have a problem with this. No woman would refuse him, because to them it was an honor and a privilege to be embraced by such a rich merchant, and not loved by him. Time passed, and he didn't love hundreds of women. There was one who came close, but she died in childbirth. The vintner mourned her, but even so he was relieved, because at no point did he ever have to come to her rescue. Not even her, the woman who was the closest to him. As long as he never showed any woman his heart, he was safe forever. He would keep his life and youth. Out of respect for her, he brought up the child the two of them had together. He hired a wet nurse for his daughter, and as time passed, he arranged for the best of schools and the finest clothes for her. And although he had instructed her not to love, he accepted her gratitude and the daisies she would pick for him. He also put up with her when she hummed her little tunes to herself. Many years passed, and the pirate ship pulled into the port city where the vintner lived. The first mate looked up his old friend, and the two of them caught up on old times. "We have been everywhere," the first mate said. "The East Indies, the West Indies, Tahiti. The women there are not afraid to give away for free what men have to pay for dearly over here. They do not cover themselves, and the gates of paradise are always open." "You are lucky," his friend answered.